Okay. Great. Okay. C2, moving on with our closed session report. We had a conference with labor negotiators. Information was exchanged. No action was taken. Moving on to C3, approval of the minutes of the regular meeting of December 12th, 2023. Do we have any questions from the board on this? No? Okay. Public comment for approval of the minutes. C3, please feel free to step up to the podium.
Thank you. Okay. Happy New Year. Let the minutes show that the last board meeting during public comment, Board President Diamond overtalked and prohibited the union from sharing an update on its positions and proposals associated with the collective bargaining process. Let the minutes show that at minute 3213, Ms. Diamond obstructed the rights provided community members when she claimed that if a general topic is agendized during closed session, it would prohibit the public from speaking on any other topic that had a connection to this very broad closed session topic. This serves as another example of the school board acting to limit transparency of governance associated with the Carpinteria Unified School District, and it is a violation of the Brown Act. Let the minutes show that at minute 3307, the union attempted to inform the board that the safety of district students, employees, and their families remains a union priority. Let the minutes show that the union attempted to remind the board and the community of the safety proposals that had first provided CUSD last June, then again in July, again in October, and again in December 2023. Yet to hear any specific feedback from the school board or management. Let the minutes show that at 3324, cause leadership attempted to clarify employees' ideas and proposals for improvement of the safety conditions, including a return to the practice of district-wide standardized school site facility visitor registration processes. Let the minutes show that cause leadership attempted to clarify employees' suggestions to return to the practice of a district-wide security badging process, not just for district personnel and guest visitors, but for routine visitors such as substitute teachers, parent helpers, student mentors, contractors, etc. Let the minutes show that cause leadership attempted to clarify employee proposals to bring back district-wide CPR and first aid training so as to better serve our students and their families in the event of either a medical emergency, significant incident response, or any of the other routine medical events that take place on our district campuses each day, be they scrapes, lacerations, broken limbs, seizures, choking, hyperventilation, heat stroke, the list goes on. Let the minutes show that cause leadership attempted to clarify employees' proposals to harden our campuses during instructional hours and after school program hours to include single access points at all school sites, so that we may ensure that the school sites know exactly who is and who isn't on district campuses during the hours that we're responsible for student safety and well-being. Let the minutes show that cause attempted to clarify employees' proposals to reinvigorate the school site, facility, and district-wide safety committees to include monthly meetings, systematic coordination between school sites, and the robust participation of parent leaders, mental health specialists, site administrators, counselors, faculty, and support staff, union representatives, student representatives at the secondary level. Thank you.
Thank you. Any further comment on the minutes from the December 12th meeting? Seeing none, I'll bring it back to the board for a motion.
I move to approve the minutes of the December 12th, 2023 meeting.
I'll second that.
Okay, any discussion? No? Okay. All in favor? Oh, roll call. Yeah. No, sorry. All in favor, right?
Aye.
Aye. Okay. Now we have the approval of the agenda and consent agenda. Do any board members have any questions about the agenda and consent agenda, how it's laid out, or moving anything? Nope. Okay. Public comment on C4, approval of the agenda and consent agenda. Please feel free to step up to the podium at this time.
Alrighty, so at the last 3 board meetings, the union notified the district that it is misusing the administration of the consent agenda to advance public business without transparency. Once again, the district is engaging in a clear violation of the Brown Act when it passes through a variety of unique items on the consent agenda which have not already been brought before the public as independent items. Among other restrictions this practice places on the public discourse, it limits public comment to a single 3-minute opportunity such as this on all items at once, versus providing the public an opportunity to more thoroughly comment on the value of each of these expenditures in any great depth. Therefore, the union again asked the district to cease and desist from engaging in this violation and process agenda items, consent agenda items, as the district is required by the Brown Act, which in turn promotes public transparency in the governance of the district. As for specific comments on a few of the consent agenda items being railed through this evening, the union supports some in concept. We encourage the school board to support items 4, 5, 6, and 7. That said, we have several concerns about items 1, 2, and 3, and clearly there will not be enough time to share those concerns in depth. However, considering item 1, given the understaffing resultant dysfunction associated with the Carpinteria Middle School SPED program, special education program, which is currently operating at 60% capacity, perhaps district leadership and the SPED director should be focusing on filling classrooms with qualified teachers and support staff instead of attending fancy symposiums in the Palm Desert while spending tax monies that are desperately needed for the resources we're not delivering to our SPED students. Like, for example, a functioning adaptive swing that injured a student at the middle school after Principal O'Shea and after the SPED director Schirger and after Ms. Rigby had been notified, but refused to invest in a new one. Now you will, but only after the student was injured. Considering item number 2, perhaps the board should consider how necessary it is for our superintendent to attend yet another conference, this time the 2024 Superintendent's Symposium in Indian Wells, California, when she has just squandered $2.5 million on attacking union leadership, an illegal action the court has just reversed in a recent decision. Perhaps a better investment in time and money would be to have the superintendent do ethical training and training on the fundamentals of labor law so that she can be better prepared for the conversations and contractual relationship she and the district are legally required to participate in, a relationship which, if handled professionally and competently, can deliver enormous outcomes for students and families of the district. Consider item 3. Although the union recognizes that hiring and employment practices under the current district leadership have resulted in an exodus of talented SPED faculty,
Thank you.
like I said, just
Thank
not
you.
enough time. Thank you.
Any further public comment on the approval of the agenda and consent agenda? Okay. May I get a motion?
I'll move to approve.
I'll second.
Any discussion from the board? No? Okay, roll call.
Eric,
Aye.
Aaron,
Aye.
Sally,
Aye.
Jamie,
Aye.
I'm aye.
Okay. Moving on to public interest reports and presentations. We're going to start with our student representative report, Isabella. And before she gets to get going, I heard that it's her birthday tomorrow.
Uh-huh.
Happy birthday. We
Birthday.
are very happy for you and happy you're here with us tonight. So
Happy New Year. Our spring semester has started and our seniors are now focusing on completing the FAFSA, which was made available to seniors by the Student Aid Commission on December 29, 2023. Our winter sports continue for the next 2 months, and we encourage everyone to come out and support our teams. Finally, CHS will be hosting an informational night on February 8th for all incoming 9th grade students. More information will be sent out to parents in the next few weeks. Thank you.
okay. Any questions from the board? No. Okay. Thank you so much. And do we have any public comment on the student representative report? Please feel free to step up.
Thank you. So happy birthday to Isabella, although she just left. still. Employee leadership on behalf of teachers and support staff want to welcome back CUSD students after the winter break. As many of us watched our own kids returning to their school sites, their classrooms, teachers, and friends with a variety of mixed emotions, we felt both their pain and their joy. Without being pedantic, we want them to know that their focus, their sacrifice, and their commitment to their education has the potential to open many doors for them in the future, but also in the present. And we want the students to know that many of us, parents, family members, district employees, community leaders, and many you don't even know, many of these students don't even know, are investing in them and doing what we can to offer them a unique opportunity that many, many kids around the world will never know, a free public education. So Happy New Year to them, and let us now know how we can help and get to it. Thank you.
Thank you. Any further public comment on our student representative report? Okay, moving on to our superintendent's report.
Thanks, Jamie. So I'll begin with appreciation. And January is the time to acknowledge the school board and its role in supporting student achievement during School Board Recognition Month. We are proud to join more than 1,000 local educational agencies in the state in recognizing the contributions of our board members who work tirelessly to help our district establish new ways of ensuring students continue to learn. Board members are our elected representatives and a vital link between the school district and the community. The board sets the foundation and vision for the district, directs resources where they're most needed, and ensures accountability of the community by monitoring progress toward goals. Their end goal, of course, is to support and elevate student achievement. Please join me in saluting our hardworking board members, Jamie Dimon, Sally Green, Andy Schaefer, Aaron Smith, and Eric Bridgeford. Thank you very much. Thank you. Thank you. My next item is the United Way Winter Break Program. 53 elementary students participated in the CUSD grant-funded United Way Winter Break Program at Canalino between December 18th and through the 22nd, 8 a.m. to 6 p.m. The students enjoyed fun-filled art, music, and physical activities in addition to daily reading and math practice. Crystal Wang, our Canalino Grade 4 DLI teacher, served as the site director, and 11 CUSD staff members from Aliso, Canalino Family School, and CUSD Preschool served as program staff. And we appreciate them for doing that. Our Career Technical Education Pathway grants at CHS. We have received the K-12 Strong Workforce Grant at $74,000 to support the high school agricultural pathway, and the Career Technical Education Incentive Grant at $90,000 to support culinary, engineering, and robotics pathways. These grant monies will be used to develop curriculum, staff training, staffing, instructional supplies, and industry certification. My next item is the first semester high school student performance. 71% of our CHS students earned a 3.0 GPA or higher, with a school average of 3.45 GPA. Both indicators demonstrate improvement since 22-23's first semester. Additionally, there were less students in grades 10 through 12 with D's and F's. Our after-school tutoring continues to be offered to assist those students with failing grades. Professional development. Santa Barbara County Office of Education is providing professional development for CUSD teacher leaders to strengthen their work on their professional learning communities to increase student achievement. PLCs collectively analyze student performance data to evaluate student learning and needs and determine improvement in instructional strategies. Teachers meet weekly to discuss instructional practices, share knowledge, and observe one another for continuous professional learning and growth. And my last item is the update for Measure U. Measure U staff is currently preparing the RFP for the leaseback contractor for the Canalino Learning Center. That will be advertised in mid-January. Once the board approves the LLB contractor, construction is expected to begin on the Canalino campus during March 2024 with a completion date of November 2024. Thank you.
Thank you. Any questions from the board? Okay. Public comment on the superintendent's report. Please feel free to step up to the podium at this time.
So it is no surprise that Superintendent Rigby chose at this very board meeting to express her very personal appreciation for the district's board members. She needs your cooperation more than ever at this exact moment. You see, over the winter break, the superintendent learned that the Commission on Professional Competence reached an important decision, a decision that demonstrated that Ms. Rigby has spent $2.5 million of taxpayer money wrongly accusing union leadership of a variety of salacious and unfounded behaviors. And as a result, not only has the superintendent's illegal and anti-union attacks cost the district $2.5 million by her own accounting, but the district is now responsible for paying approximately $750,000 to $1 million more of the community's tax money just to make those directly attacked and harmed somewhat whole again, to include paying back all back pay, all of the accused's legal fees, and even to include a significant portion of the court costs. And that's if the superintendent and her very, very well-paid lawyers and friends don't talk the school board into filing an appeal, which would likely bring the total to over $4 million of taxpayer money by the end, coming directly out of the investments that could be made in programs, opportunities, and resources directed at district students and families. And get this straight, if the district seeks an appeal, they would be seeking an appeal to the court's unanimous decision, a decision made after 20 days of hearings and without any dissent from those on the commission. And again, the commission of 3 that included a panelist hand-selected by the district reached this unanimous decision. So no surprise that Ms. Rigby has prioritized her personal appreciation to the school board. Lastly, we remind you of the very words Ms. Rigby shared in her report, where she acknowledges the expectations for school board members who are, quote, our elected representatives and a vital link between the school district and community, and who are expected to, quote, work tirelessly to help our district establish new ways of ensuring students continue to learn. As Ms. Rigby stated, the board is expected to set the foundation and vision for the district and, quote, direct resources where they are most needed and ensure accountability to the community. Again, direct resources where they are most needed and ensure accountability to the community. We are at a moment in the history of the CUSD where the proverbial soul of district leadership has been laid bare. You should not allow the superintendent to transform those critical expectations mentioned into feckless platitudes. Although we shouldn't have to remind some of you on this, district employees, students, and community members need better leadership. They need you to honor those expectations that you swore to honor when you took those positions. Thank you.
Thank you.
I'll make my statement. Okay. Yes. We will continue to defend our right to remove from classrooms and campuses employees who are inappropriate and unprofessional with children, especially following explicit directions regarding our expectations for professional conduct. While some may argue Mr. Hotchner's interactions with children are not indecent or immoral, they most certainly are unconscionable if you agree that students must be treated with respect and compassion always. The CAUSE Executive Board claims our efforts are based on Mr. Hotchner's union role, so we want to be abundantly clear that the district's decision is unrelated to Mr. Hotchner's union role. The district's decision is based on the value it places on the detailed and factually specific accusations of misconduct made by district students and the district's expectations for teacher conduct in the school environment. We have an unwavering expectation that all our employees help students feel safe, welcome, and respected while in school. And Mr. Hotchner's treatment of students did not reflect those values. On a more personal note, I would not tolerate my grandchildren being under his direct supervision, and I must not allow it for any other child.
I personally would like to thank the staff that that worked for the United Way program during the winter break. I walk by every morning early in the morning, and I ran into Peter a couple times at Canalino, getting the cafeteria cleaned up or cleaning stuff on campus after the program. And I just want to say how much I appreciate our staff that made sure our kids have a safe place to be during the winter break when school isn't in, so they can get meals and supervision and resources and assistance that they need. So thank you to all those staff. Any other comments from the board? No? Okay. Moving on, we have a presentation from Craig Lewis, Executive Director from Clean Coalition on Solar Options at Carpinteria High School. Craig, Executive Director of Clean Coalition, is going to present the benefits from solar and/or solar microgrids in the Carpinteria High School parking lot. Hi, welcome.
Thank you. Thank you. Board members, Superintendent, thank you for giving me the opportunity to speak here tonight. I will be talking about bringing a solar microgrid to Carpinteria High School. And it's based on having studied and brought other projects to the neighborhood. And I'll talk about those, and also facilitating solar microgrids for Santa Barbara Unified School District. And Clean Coalition does work in lots of places, but those are the local projects that I'll be talking about. Just a little bit of background on the Clean Coalition. We are a very technical nonprofit with a mission to accelerate the transition to renewable energy and a modern grid. And we believe that we will get to 100% renewable energy. It's just a matter of whether that happens in 10 years or 30 years. It will happen sometime in that time range. And of course, given the Clean Coalition's mission to accelerate that, we are working every day to make sure that happens closer to the 10-year time frame than the 30-year time frame. So in order to talk about solar microgrids, I just want to set the table a little bit in terms of what a microgrid is, and then talk about what a solar microgrid is. A microgrid is a combination of energy resources that definitely include a local generating resource, so that when the broader grid goes down, that generating resource can provide energy to the loads that have been targeted to continue to operate when the grid goes down. A solar microgrid is a microgrid that depends on solar energy to provide that energy generation. There are other types of microgrids, but I'm going to focus today talking about solar microgrids because that's what the Clean Coalition is recommending that we do at Carpinteria High School. And solar microgrids provide a trifecta of benefits around economics, environmental benefits, and resilience. And I'm going to go through these slides rather quickly because I've got a number of slides and I want to make sure we get to the really important stuff that will help y'all consider how to proceed. But I do want to talk about the resilience piece just a little bit so that folks can understand, have a reasonable understanding of what that's all about. So a typical solar microgrid provides a level of resilience that's depicted in this diagram. And what this diagram shows is if you look at the vertical axis, that's percentage of load. And if you look at the horizontal axis, that's percentage of time. And when you think about a facility, and you can think about your home, if you think about your house, if I think about my home, the most critical loads at my home are the refrigerator and the communications. In my case, that would be access to the internet and the devices that allow me to communicate, right? My phone and my computers. So those are considered critical loads and they should never turn off. And that's why the lowest layer on this diagram is the tier 1 loads. Those are the critical loads. They are on 100% of the time. They will never turn off. And they're usually a very small percentage of the load. In this case, this is a analysis that we did for UCSB. And we can keep 10% of the loads at UCSB on forever in this solar microgrid that we designed there. The tier 2 loads, those are priority loads. Those are loads that will only turn off if you absolutely have to turn them off to make sure that you have energy availability for your tier 1 loads. And the tier 2 loads, the priority loads, they'll be on for at least 80% of the time. And the rest of the loads, the other 75%, even those can be maintained for about 25% of the time, or I should say at least 25% of the time. So this is the amount of resilience. The colored area of this diagram really represents the amount of resilience you get from a solar microgrid. Now, I want to contrast that to a diesel generator because that's the de facto standard for bringing energy resilience to a facility. And that is depicted by this little red hashed rectangle here in the lower left corner. And if you consider the area of that, that's represented by tier 1 and tier 2 loads, which together are usually about 25% of the loads at a facility. But a typical diesel generator only has 2 days of on-site fuel supply. So after 2 days of running 25% of your loads, it's lights out for everything, unless you have the ability to resupply the diesel fuel. We live in a very transmission grid vulnerable region. It's known as the Goleta load pocket because from Point Conception to Lake Casitas, that 70-mile stretch of area is served by the Goleta substation. That is a substation that is just up the hill from Dos Pueblos High School. If you know where that is, it's out in Goleta. That substation gets all of its energy from Ventura over transmission lines that come up on the backside of the mountains and then up and over into that Goleta substation. So this whole region from an electricity standpoint is referred to as the Goleta load pocket, and it's named after the substation, not the city. And this diagram or this map shows a purple trace. That is the transmission line, and there's 2 lines, but they're on exactly the same transmission towers. So when one of those lines go down, they both go down. And Southern California Edison, which runs the grid around here, across the entire Goleta load pocket, they've been very clear. Those transmission lines go down. They will continue to go down. And depending on what brings them down, they could be down for months at a time. So the Clean Coalition has this initiative called the Goleta Load Pocket Community Microgrid to basically resolve that by bringing lots of local renewables into the Goleta load pocket and enable those renewables to provide 24/7 energy support by using energy storage in combination with the local renewables, which will mostly be solar. The Clean Coalition facilitated solar microgrids for the Santa Barbara Unified School District, and I'll talk a little bit about that, a little bit more about that later. I just wanted to show, well, actually, I'll show this later. So we proactively went and looked at the Carpinteria High School, and I said that we've done a lot of work in this particular neighborhood around the high school. And I've been salivating over getting solar on Carpinteria High School because it is just begging for it. That massive parking lot is just begging for solar. And so we did a quick solar layout for the high school, just using the parking lots. And so you can see down here in this corner, and actually here's a little bit blown up version, we can put a lot of solar there. And the amount of solar we can put there is probably beyond the net zero level to get Carpinteria High School completely at net zero. We go way beyond that. So we're not going to need to fill up all of this solar that you see in this picture. But until we do a more rigorous feasibility study, we won't know exactly how much solar we're going to need to get to net zero and to keep the critical loads that are at Carpinteria High School online indefinitely. I mentioned a couple of times now that the Clean Coalition has done a fair amount of work in this region. There's a large battery project. It was the first front of meter utility scale battery project in Santa Barbara County, is just down the street from Carpinteria High School. I think everybody probably knows that you have the high school. Just to the east of the high school, there is the Carpinteria substation, electrical substation. And just on the other side of that is the site of a battery project that's been operational now for 3 years. And that's called the Vallecito Energy Storage Resilience Project. The Clean Coalition helped to facilitate that project. And so we studied the grid quite intently in this area when we did that. And this is a picture basically of the grid in the area around the high school and the grid, actually the same feeders go all the way down and get to the big commercial cluster that's concentrated in this part of Carpinteria right down there. But it's all electrically connected. So the high school is connected to the substation, is connected to the Vallecito Energy Storage Resilience Project, and this whole region is connected together through that Carpinteria substation. We've also worked with Brand Farms, which is just down the street from the Vallecito Energy Storage Resilience Project. They want to increase their load by 10 times. And in order to do that, they need a lot more energy, obviously 10 times more. And Southern California Edison told them that they couldn't get any more energy off of the grid, because the grid is so constrained in this area. So we worked with Brand Farms to come up with a solar microgrid that will provide 10 times more energy than they're currently consuming by putting a solar microgrid behind their meter and not taking any additional energy from the Southern California Edison grid. So the solar microgrid methodology that the Clean Coalition uses, it's a 5-step process. We start with analyzing the loads at a site. We do the resource scenarios, which means we size the solar, we size the storage to make sure that we can meet the needs of the load profile, including the critical load profile. Those are the loads that should never, ever turn off. We do site layouts, so we turn them into very pretty pictures. We do the economic analyses, and then we provide reporting and recommendations based on the results of the feasibility study. I know that Santa Barbara Unified is probably the most interesting, comparable project that we've worked on in this region that will help guide you as to how to proceed here for Carpinteria Unified School District schools. We looked at all 21 of the Santa Barbara Unified sites, which are shown by the pin drops in this map. Out of those sites, we ended up doing 14 of the sites. That's 12 schools, 1 district office, and 1 central food warehouse. Out of the 14 sites that went forward with solar, 8 of the sites got full solar microgrids. That means that the critical loads at those 6 sites will never turn off. And those 6 sites are the 3 big high schools: Santa Barbara, San Marcos, Dos Pueblos, the 1 middle school that's in a very vulnerable area of Santa Barbara, that's La Cumbre Junior High, the central food warehouse, which has most of the food stock that supplies all of the school cafeterias. So the major inventory of food is at the central food warehouse. And then the district office, which is where a lot of the command and control will be run from in the case of a grid outage, a long duration grid outage. In terms of what probably really matters to this group here is, what do the economics look like? So in the case of the Santa Barbara Unified School District, we entered into a power purchase agreement, which means that a third party paid for all of the upfront costs, all of the capital expenditures. Third party is responsible for maintaining all of these projects, the solar microgrids and the solar projects as well, the solar only projects. And the power purchase agreement lasts for 28 years. It's a fixed price for the electricity that's delivered from the solar and the solar microgrids. It will never increase. And the district, at the time we did this analysis, which was about 3 years ago now, at the time we did this analysis, the district will save about $8 million in bill savings over that 28-year period. That means they're going to pay $8 million less for electricity between what they pay to Edison and what they pay under the power purchase agreement than what they would have paid if they didn't proceed with these projects. In addition, there's $6.5 million of value of resilience. And that means if they were going to get the same level of resilience at those 6 solar microgrid sites that they get from the solar, that they get from the solar microgrids, they would have to spend $6.5 million on diesel generators and operating those diesel generators for that 28-year period. The power purchase agreements are for a 28-year period. And in addition, in this diagram there's a question mark off on the far right, and that means that represents additional monetization opportunities that are for sure coming We just don't know how much they will be, but those are for programs like demand response and other types of programs that the batteries allow us to take advantage of, will allow us to take advantage of. And I should say that the bill savings in the last 3 years, Southern California Edison rates have gone up so much that the district is going to save at least 3 times more than that $8 million that we had anticipated. So now they're looking at something on the order of about $25 million in savings over this power purchase agreement period. Okay, so how do we prepare for success here for the Carpinteria Unified? The first thing we do is we prioritize goals, and the goals typically when we do, Clean Coalition deals with a lot of school districts, so we're talking about goals around resilience, environment, economics, of course, and education. In addition, we want to answer some basic questions that basically are things like which buildings can house solar, which parking lots can house the solar. Is there a need for additional loads at a site? For example, bringing some electric vehicle charging infrastructure to a site. That adds a lot of load, so we would need to account for that in the solar microgrid feasibility study. There's a number of additional things that we want to consider. And then once we have those considerations, we want to get started and we want to get off and do whatever makes sense to get going on. And these are specific recommendations that the Clean Coalition has for Carpinteria Unified. The first recommendation is to conduct a solar microgrid feasibility study for Carpinteria High School. Typically, doing a large high school like Carpinteria High would cost about $15,000 to do that feasibility study. We have found a party that is willing to cover that. So there would be no cost to Carpinteria Unified to proceed into the solar microgrid. The solar microgrid feasibility study, I should say, that feasibility study, if y'all agree that the Clean Coalition should proceed with this, we will come back and we will present findings to the board. My hope is to do that on the February 13th board meeting. The Clean Coalition can get the feasibility study done in that time frame. So, from a Clean Coalition perspective, we will be ready to present to you the results, and we will present the results in terms of what the economics look like from a power purchase agreement approach, like what Santa Barbara High did or what Santa Barbara Unified did, and also for a cash purchase approach, if there's any possibility that the district would want to just own these projects outright. And then at the same time, I'd like to, suggest that the Carpinteria Unified Board also considers how to extend those same benefits to the other schools in the district. But I think that Carpinteria High, it's an obvious location for a solar microgrid. It will have tremendous economic benefits, and that can be our starting point. And then over time, the other sites can be considered. If you have a little more time, I don't know how I'm doing on time, but I just want to show you a couple of sites across Santa Barbara Unified. So this is Dos Pueblos High School, just to give you a visual of what these projects look like. All of the solar went on a big parking lot, and Dos Pueblos is probably the most similar to what I anticipate the deployment at Carpinteria High will be. So all of the solars, over a big parking lot. The batteries are located off to the side right here. And then, this is Dos Pueblos High campus. This is what it looks like from Cathedral Oaks Road, if you're familiar with Dos Pueblos High School. So this is a view from the street. You can see what the solar parking canopies look like. This is a view of San Marcos High School. All of the solar is in this parking lot area. This is all over parking lots, and then this is actually over a little open space area that's between the tennis courts and the baseball fields. So have a little bit different configuration there at San Marcos. This is a view from Hollister Avenue of the San Marcos solar parking canopies, and this is Santa Barbara High School. And Santa Barbara High, we've got what they call their senior parking lot right there. and their junior parking lot right there. And the big football stadium here is, so the senior lot overlooks the football stadium. It's a pretty cool view from that parking lot. And this is just, again, a street view this would be Anapamu Street, looking at the solar parking canopies. So that's the gist of it. I'll go back to the recommendations slide because I'm hoping that, I know you're not voting on this or anything tonight, but I think, what I hope you can do is that Superintendent Rigby has permission to basically initiate the Clean Coalition to do a free solar microgrid feasibility study for Carpinteria High School. And then I will be back here on February 13th to present the results to you.
Thank you. Any questions from the board? Go ahead.
I have a few. Yeah. Hi. Thanks, Craig.
Sure.
So I just think it was a nice presentation. The resiliency part of it, the benefits of tier 1 and tier 2 load. I don't know that necessarily helps the school district that much because I don't believe we can operate with only bare minimum, right? We have to have HVAC and lights, and
We need, yes.
Schools are closed essentially if you're limiting yourself to those categories.
Definitely tier
Yeah.
two.
So let me just speak to that. For at least 25% of the time, you can keep 100% of the loads on.
Mm.
The reason that there's an angle to the way that those loads come down is we can control, if we design it the way the Clean Coalition would design it, we can control every single load. So if I think that the rules are in public schools, if the lights go out, you have to send kids home.
Or HVAC.
HVAC.
Yeah.
Or HVAC. So we don't want anything in the classroom to go out, right? So there's a lot of other loads at a school that you can turn off before you start turning classroom things off. And so those would be the first to get the things that are not going to force you to evacuate the kids or to, disperse the kids home, send the kids home. So there's value to making sure that you don't disrupt your teaching operations there. If the, proverbial, what hits the fan, and there is a really serious disaster, like, think back to early 2018 with the Thomas fire and late 2017, the Thomas fire and the subsequent debris flows, that was Armageddon scenario for this region. And a little bit worse than that, and we would have been completely cut off from, both sides of 101. So we would have been islanded. There are scenarios that to me, it doesn't take much more to think about scenarios where you don't want those kids to leave. You don't want the faculty to leave. You want people to shelter in place, and you don't want them to move, off of that site. And in that case, yes, you'll turn the classroom loads off because everybody will be going to evacuation areas and maybe emergency sheltering overnight. And you need to keep everybody there. I say kids because they tend to be the focus, but faculty as well. You want to make sure that everybody who's on that campus is going to stay alive, and they're going to be fed, and they're going to have a place to sleep. So, I think, I personally think in terms of, really the types of disasters that we could have. We haven't had one of those. I mean, the closest we had was a handful of years ago, but I do think that we will see more of that type of activity and, those types of events. And I think we should be prepared for those. So to me, resilience has very significant value. But I get the question, and I think it's going to come down to economics. So I did say that our recommendations or what we report out on February 13th will include solar microgrid and solar only. So you can see, did the economics improve or did they get worse with the solar microgrid?
The microgrid that would be designed for the high school would include a battery, or we would be
if it's
partnering.
Yeah. So we'll do solar microgrid and solar only. So we'll show the solar microgrid includes the battery. So solar microgrid means the battery and the
on-site battery,
the solar and the on-site battery. And it also includes microgridding capability and load management, which is the ability to to peel those loads off in a very logical way, right? There, you have to be able to control all of the circuits.
So how does Edison, have they, I know they've gone back and forth with aggregation of similarly owned properties, and they've got different rules for different areas and different industries. Would a school district be able to aggregate all their meters and then be able to locate solar at one site rather than having a bunch of little pockets of solar systems?
Technically, yes, but the economics are really lousy. The program that you're referring to it was referred to as RESBCT, and I forget what the whole acronym stands for. That's an acronym. But it basically means that if you put all the solar at Carpinteria High and then you apply it to the meters at other schools, then the value you get at the other schools is just the energy value. You don't get the delivery charges, which is your transmission and distribution charges, which are more than half of the bill right now. And you don't get the demand charges, which is where you have your peak loads. So you lose about 70% of the value when you sign up for the RESBCT. And so I can almost guarantee you that the economics will look really terrible. You're going to be way better off to put the solar and or solar microgrids at each campus.
Okay, thank you. And then as far as backup goes, how come no one's using natural gas for backup generators? Because all the peaker plants are natural gas.
Yeah. Well, environmentally, it's terrible. And
Well, it's better than diesel.
yeah, but like you can't get any worse than diesel. So being better than diesel is not,
Well,
not
coal,
good.
you can get better, worse.
They're probably about equal. Diesels are really, really bad. Also, natural gas generators, they are dependent on pipeline natural gas. And pipeline natural gas, it doesn't go down as often as the electric grid, but when it goes down for way longer. So if you are setting up your resilience strategy around natural gas pipeline dependent solution, you're not doing your homework, right? That would be a lousy solution if you're doing it for resilience.
But if that's the case, if your natural gas lines are down and the grid's all down and the internet's down, there's a lot bigger problems than whether or not we can keep our lights on at our school, right?
Well, your lights are not your critical loads, right? Your refrigerator, you want to keep people fed, and your communications.
But
Those
there's 4 main transmission lines running through this area.
There's 2. There's only 2 transmission lines that serve this whole area, and they are on the backside of the mountains. If you're looking at anything on this side of the mountains, you're not looking at transmission lines. You're looking at distribution lines. They're high voltage.
I've got 3 of them that run through my property just south of here.
They're 66 kV, and they're
no. I'm talking about natural gas.
Oh, natural gas.
Natural gas.
Sorry, I misunderstood what you were saying.
Yeah.
Okay.
And I can't remember when those have gone down.
Well, here's what I can tell you. In the debris flows in Montecito, there was the gas line exploded, the pipeline exploded and blew a house away.
Yeah.
Right now, Southern California Gas, SoCal Gas, did a really good job of making sure people didn't hear about that. But there is a home that is completely blown away because the pipeline not only went down, but it exploded. And so people who rely on gas as their safety solution, their resilience solution, I go, that's not a good strategy. And if I had 3 gas pipelines coming near my property, I'd be worried. I wouldn't be happy about that. You sound like think that's a good thing. I don't think that's a good thing.
So you mentioned, I'm not trying to debate you on the transmission lines in the backcountry here were just upgraded. They just put in new foundations, new towers. I guess what I'm getting at is it sounds like doom and gloom if something goes wrong, but a lot of this stuff has been upgraded, hasn't it?
I don't know about the foundations. I know that they put some wildfire protection.
No, there are new towers, new foundations. That was going on right during the during and after the Thomas fire. So,
Okay.
and they got rid of all the lattice towers in the backcountry now. Now we have
Well,
solid towers.
What I can tell you is that we deal with Edison all the time. Edison puts filings into the California Public Utilities Commission all the time. I have people who live at the California Public Utilities Commission, the Clean Ocean does. And Edison is very clear those transmission lines are super vulnerable. So whether they're new or old doesn't matter. There is something that can take them out. And whether it's a natural disaster or a man-made disaster, if somebody wants to create a lot of havoc for Santa Barbara region, all they got to do is go park a truck bomb near
I'm
one
sorry.
of those towers.
Sorry. I feel like this is taking a turn
Oh, yeah,
into
yeah.
something that it wasn't intended to
Okay,
be
sure.
with this kind of disaster talk and what you just said. I just don't think it's super appropriate. This is about a few different things. Doing our part, future proofing, moving us forward. And because of the climate of California, with emissions reductions and the direction it's going, to me, doing something like this is a very natural and obvious move. And so that's why I know Eric and I have been talking about bringing solar specifically in this exact way for about a year now, pretty much since you jumped on the board a little before. And so I have a feeling you have a few things to say. So I'll let, unless you had
No.
anything else. Okay,
Yeah, I think resilience
go ahead.
piece is important, but also the bottom line, the money side seems to be pretty good on this one. And
Yeah.
I'd be curious too to see what the report generates as far as extra cash flow that may develop from this. So not only would we save money on installing solar, but would we also generate extra cash flow from it?
Yes. I mean, the beautiful thing here is no matter where you
that'd be
sit.
a real win-win, right?
Yeah, exactly. It's about economics, environment, and resilience. You get all three. So if you don't care about one or two of those, it doesn't, almost everybody cares about the economics. And so you will save money. I can essentially guarantee you that the economics will look very positive for the district. So it's going to be a no-brainer just on the economic case.
Okay.
You get the environmental and the resilience going to come for free.
Mm-hmm. Did you have anything else?
No, that's it. Look forward to seeing a report.
All right. Anybody else? Okay. So yeah, solar generation on all campuses. So a few questions that I have, and you kind of touched on it, and I'll look forward to seeing this in the report. Batteries on site, so we can not only create our own microgrids, but also in that scenario, I believe when we're making more than we're using, we can essentially sell it back and make money off of it, correct?
You can, but what's more
How does
likely
that
to
work?
what you're more likely to use the batteries for is to absorb some of that solar energy during the middle of the day.
Mhm.
The way that California electricity pricing works in today's market is that the energy has the least amount of value. It's at the lowest cost in the middle of the day because there's a lot of solar generation happening across the state. And then the energy is most expensive from 4 to 9 p.m.
Mhm.
So what will happen, those batteries will be programmed to absorb a bunch of that solar energy in the middle of the day when the sun is cranking, and then use that energy for self-serve into the afternoon and into the nighttime when the energy is expensive. And even though, you might be thinking kids are all home, our load's pretty low when the kids aren't there at the campuses. But in reality, there's a lot of the loads might go down by a factor of 2, but there's still a lot of load that is carried overnight at the sites.
Yeah, I guess battery storage, but if you get to a point where what we have developed on our site is generating more
Yes.
than we're consuming,
Then it will be sold to the utility. Yes.
that's what I was asking.
Yes.
But that money's going to be made by the third party who pays for this, right? Not us.
No, it'll be you own the meter, so it will accrue to you. It'll accrue to the meter owner's economics what you're paying to the PPA holder is you're paying for delivered solar energy to you. Now, if you can do what you want with that solar energy, you can put it into the battery, you can serve real-time load. Well, you're going to serve real-time loads first, then you're going to put it in the battery, and then anything, once the battery's full and you've got all your real-time loads taken care of, then you will spill it onto the grid, which is what, the chair has kind of been laying out.
Okay. And then other things that I'm hoping we'll be able to see in the report, we kind of touched on it, is so if we have this at multiple sites, well, I'm not going to worry about that. But the PPA, which is 28 years versus going out for grants and owning it outright, which I know the expense, I'm not even, but I'd just like to see it laid out, the differences, all the different options, because I believe there's several different options of going through with it, of how owning it versus essentially leasing it, and the difference. And then making sure that it's, since we are looking at 28 years in the future and knowing that there's going to be no more fossil fueled cars after 2035. We're going to be looking at any new vehicles would be EV, buses, all of those things. So we need to be looking at having enough capacity to carry the future of what we'll have to be doing. And then also understanding the difference between doing these parking lot style versus rooftop versus standalone.
We weren't planning on doing the rooftop analysis because in most schools, the rooftops are pretty tricky getting through DSA.
Okay.
And so typically, unless it's a brand new building or built in the last 5 years, we just kind of skip it and we go
Gotcha.
straight to the parking lots.
Okay.
At Carpinteria High School, which is the site that we're planning to do a full feasibility study for, we have plenty of parking lot there. We're going to be able to more than net zero that site. And the economics start getting reduced pretty quickly once you go beyond net zero. So
Okay.
I'm not anticipating that we're going to go much beyond net zero, and which means we're not going to even have to use all of the potential siting capacity of the parking lots.
And are we talking about net zero for now or net zero
Great
projected?
question. I love the way you think. We are going to be talking. We're going to work with Diana and her team to come up with the what the load will look like in 5 years from now. That's typically we go out 5 years. And so we'll think about how much EV charging infrastructure do we need there for faculty, for students, right? You have student drivers once you get to high school. And then you have bus fleets. To the extent that there will be bus charging going on there, then we will incorporate all of that in our what we call the master load profile. And when I say net zero, I'm talking about net zero of the master load profile. That's what that load profile will look like in 5 years from now.
Okay. When we get deeper into it, would we then be able to also project, if you're saying, to get to that net zero that you're talking about, we only need to do 2/3 of the parking lot, right? Could we have it set, because again, knowing that that load will 100% increase in the subsequent 15 years after that. So we have the ability and infrastructure to add panels, and battery storage, things like that. So I don't want to get too deep into it right now and take up too much time, but I just want, those are the things that I'm hoping to see in the report, the ability to future plan in that way.
Yeah. One of the things we can do is we can just put the maximum footprint of how much solar we could put on those parking lots.
Mm-hmm.
And then we could tell you how much more load growth you could accommodate.
Right.
And so that'll give you an idea of, okay, we got another 25, 30% that we can grow, and we could add more solar to the site.
Perfect.
So
That's
we'll give you that.
what I would
Yes.
like to see. Yes. Thank
Okay,
you.
sure.
I appreciate that.
Sure.
Anything else? No?
Just one thing on the battery storage for the sites. I'm looking, it looks like the San Marcos, well, I think all of them, the battery storage is just about what the solar capacity is for the day, right? I mean, they're going to put out 723 kilowatts of DC. and they're going to be able to store 710 of that. That's AC kilowatts.
So typically what we do, and I can't remember exactly the sizing, of the various projects, but this is what the battery project at San Marcos looks like, by the way. Those are the
Yeah.
batteries right here.
Are those lithium ion or lead acid?
They are. Those are Tesla batteries. They're exactly the same. Well, I shouldn't say exactly. They're different sizes than the batteries that are at the Vallecito Energy Storage Project, but those are also Tesla. So it's everything that went into Santa Barbara Unified is Tesla batteries. Batteries at Vallecito, those are Teslas as well. The big battery project that just went online in Goleta, that's Tesla. So Tesla's they've come out with the most robust solution with different
I guess
sizes.
my question is there demand 723 kilowatts a day? Is that, based on the design, right? You're
One of the analytics that we'll provide in our feasibility study that I'll report out in a few weeks, in about a month from now, is we'll show you how much of that solar energy is going directly to serve loads in real time, how much of it's going into the battery, and then how much of it's going out to the grid. And so in a nice, pretty chart that you'll be able to look at, just a lot of these.
It's net metering as well as a battery system.
It is, and that was what the chair was getting at, is that anything that's beyond what you need in real time, and your battery's full. So the battery's a load when you're charging it. It's like the lights, but it's a heavier load. But once your real time loads are taken care of and you have excess solar, it's going to get pushed out to the grid. And that's essentially, what I think you're referring to when you say net metering. The rules have changed. It's now called net billing, but that's a technicality.
Yeah, it's all very complicated because you get into the your demand charge, right?
We're going to run all the economics.
We're
going to show you
okay
how much of the economic benefit is coming from time shifting energy. But we're going to show you how much of it's coming from reducing demand charges. That'll all be laid out for
charges
you. And transmission distribution charges. Yes.
And I think we'll be able to, once the report comes, if there's something that we don't have, I think we can ask for more.
Yeah. Okay. I was curious how much resilience, how much battery, how many days of battery do you have there?
Yeah. So that, yeah, sorry.
That was what I was trying to get to.
I meant to answer that. So what happens is, let's just say we have the site's going to be 1,000 kilowatts of solar. That's a power capacity. The battery will be sized. Typically, we size the battery to have the same power capacity. So it'll be 1,000 kilowatts and then 2 hours. So 2,000 kilowatt hours. Now, that doesn't mean the battery only lasts for 2 hours, because the maximum load at the school is probably going to be something less than 100 kilowatts. So even if you had everything cranking at the school, we can keep that school on for 20 hours, right? As long as the battery was full when the grid went down. So, and because solar cranks every day, even on the worst case day.
Right?
Well, no. If it's the worst case day, you get about 5% of the average. So even on the worst day of the year, you're going to get 5% of the average day's solar generation. And every other day, including the day before and the day after, is going to be much better than that. So we're going to use historical data to do the solar profile.
Great. Thank you very much.
Yeah.
I appreciate your time.
Thank you, Craig.
Thank you, Craig.
Okay.
Yeah, thanks.
Do we have public comment? Please feel free to step up to the podium.
Thank you. So union leadership appreciates the work of those school board members who worked to agendize this topic this evening. It's long overdue, and we really do appreciate it. I also want to thank Mr. Lewis for his presentation and for the work that he's doing to bring clean energy, economic benefits, and energy resilience to CUSD, and the community at large. Union leadership would like to send you a few questions directly, Mr. Lewis, to help us better understand the project you're looking at and trying to describing. Not only would we like to consider how we might better support our shared interests, but perhaps there is a way to use such a project to directly educate students at the high school and encourage them to further consider jobs in the clean energy sector. It seems like there would be a lot of intellectual Velcro if we were putting a project on the campus. At the same time, these students will be encountering and eventually pursuing stable and upwardly mobile professions in clean energy. I noticed your contact information, and so we will reach out in your direction once I have a chance to discuss it with our colleagues, the teachers and support staff we represent. I also want to personally thank you for the very clear image provided on the cover of the packet that you provided in the presentation. It's an aerial view, and I'll hold it up. This on the cover of packet, or I guess with PowerPoint as well. It is an aerial view of the CHS, and it includes insight into where a proposed solar project would go. And it also shows what is going on in the property line of the Carpinteria High School beyond the mere opportunity for solar energy production. When examining the image, again, I'm holding it up, did anyone else notice that the high school is surrounded by cannabis operations, most of which were developed under Ms. Rigby's watch, often in violation of the boundary laws that existed? Seriously, with a shepherd like yourself, Ms. Rigby, we don't need wolves. This solar conversation is long overdue. And we wonder if anyone has forgotten that the solar project could have been considered in the first years of your superintendentship, but instead you were busy essentially failing to register complaints about the cannabis boundary violations adjacent to the high school and greenwashing money through the Rotary Club that the cannabis operations were giving. Thank you.
Any further public comment on Craig's great solar presentation? Okay. Thank you very much. And yes, part of the conversation that will go with this is how we can incorporate CTE, educational opportunities, green careers, engineering. There's so many different things that we can do with this for our students. And I know Eric and I are really excited about what this is just the tip of the iceberg. So there's no way that we could get it all out tonight. So thank you. Oh, go ahead real quick.
The Clean Coalition put together a solar microgrid methodology curriculum for Santa Barbara City College, and we just finished the first cohort last semester, and this semester is the second cohort. So we are packaging up this knowledge, and Clean Coalition, we're a nonprofit. Our mission is to accelerate this transition, and Clean Coalition is not going to be able to do it one project at a time. We got to get lots of people out there with this knowledge. So we've succeeded with that at the college level, and we'd love to bring it to the high school level. So we'd love to work with you on that.
Appreciate it. Okay. And thank you again. We are now going to move on to a presentation from CUSD Child Nutrition and Wellness Coordinator, Michelle Hernandez, on our food services program. Thank you so much for being patient, and we're really happy to have you here tonight.
Good evening. Thank you for offering me this time to speak to you about the program that we run. A little nervous, bear with me. Okay, so a little bit about us at CUSD Food Services. We are committed to providing our students with the most nutritious meals that we can cook up. As students begin their voyage through the depths of their educational journey, it is not only important for them to healthfully feed their minds, but their bodies as well. Research has shown that scratch cooking, utilizing fresh ingredients, maximizes nutritional content in meals. Healthy, nutrient-dense food plays a vital role in learning. Many studies have shown, that well-nourished students have better attendance rates and are more engaged in the classroom. So I'd like to start off with my first few days at CUSD in food service. And that was, I would say, the first month of the pandemic. I remember driving to work the first day and there were no cars on the road. I was the only one. So I arrived to CUSD food service and I had one employee. So it was very interesting. I looked around and said, we can do this. How are we going to get the meals to the students? So we stood outside and posted, the hours of our operation. Not too many people came, so we had to rethink how we were going to deliver meals, how we were going to get food to students. So we set up postings at the local parks, at the Dahlia Court, at the housing areas, and coordinated with a lot of local organizations and decided to bring meals to them. So we dropped off, our numbers went from, I'd say, serving 20 kids throughout the district to serving hundreds of kids throughout the district. We organized with partners from the food bank, from farmer to family boxes with the Berryman, put postings out, and before you know it, we had hundreds of cars waiting to pick up school meals and boxes of food during the pandemic. In the community, our food service has been in the community serving over summer with partnerships with the food bank, No Kid Hungry, doing concerts in the park, and other entertainment offerings at different schools to bring kids and help engage them in meals. Again, we did farmer to family boxes, distributing meals to the community. So not only would they get a free lunch when they came out, they'd also get a produce box to help feed their families during that time. We serve about close to 200 students for the summer cheer camp that's hosted at the high school. So we prepare our fresh meals, and we do a mobile food cart, and we wheel it out there while they're doing their practicing. And we have a lot of not only students within the district that are participating in that, but also siblings and younger kids that come to watch the performances as well. You'll see us out there at Beach Day for every school that does Beach Day throughout the year. We bring our food services off-site and off campus to serve them while they're enjoying their beach day. So we do pop-up tents, and we provide meals for them off-site. So that's a real nice thing that we get to get involved with students, and they get to see us out while they're enjoying a special day, and not just in the cafeteria, a different environment for them and for us. Our culinary options. We currently provide a garden bar. So that's a fresh salad bar option. That's an alternative to our feature that's on the menu. We have daily, we offer different proteins for those who want to have a different variety that may be more either an athlete's or different alternative diets, or more health conscious. They have fresh selections there. We have fresh vegetables, roasted vegetables, pickled vegetables. We do different proteins. We roast turkeys, chicken. We have diced chicken, do tuna salads. So we like to switch up the offerings that we have on the salad bar daily, and that's always available at every school. We also feature different cultural cuisines to have familiar items to folks on our menus, to also have a little bit of diversity in our menu, and have students try new offerings and new things that they may not have tried before. These are some of our culinary options and creations that we have on our menus, and these are all scratch-made items. So if you're looking at our eggplant parmesan sandwich, so that is a homemade marinara that we make by roasting all of our vegetables in-house and slow cooking our marinara for a few hours, and then we puree that. We hand cut our eggplant and hand bread that and bake it, and that's served on a brioche bun. And then we have homemade pozole is another option that we do during the colder months, and that is all hand peeled, about 50 pounds of hand peeled chilies, all roasted tomatoes and onions. And we roast all of that, puree it down, and we slow cook our pork or our meat that we're going to put in it overnight. and make our soups that way. So there's a lot of steps and a lot of fresh preparation going into our menus. I was at a county health and wellness summit this year and was listening to other school districts, not to toot my own horn or our horn, but their scratch made soups and pozoles and things like that. And it's chili powder. So onion powder, chili powder, garlic powder to make their sauce. And that was scratch cooking. And not that there's not anything wrong with it, not that there's anything wrong with that, but I wanted to stand up and say, hey, there's an even better way that you can do it. You can use fresh chilies and roast fresh onions and tomatoes. And so it's very exciting to talk to other cooks and see what other school districts are doing. This is my first time in school food service, so I think we're doing a pretty great job there. So our Asian stir fry, we bring in fresh ginger, garlic, baby bok choy, all the shiitake mushrooms and things like that you would find in a really good stir fry. And serve that. And tacos, those are always our best seller, no matter what kind of meat that we prepare or grill out there. It's always a good seller. So those are some of our culinary creations. So some of our challenges. So we have a lot of fun, but there are a few things a few hiccups that we've experienced centralizing our kitchen. So we centralized our kitchen because during the pandemic when I started, there were times when staff members could not make it in for various reasons. So like I said, when I joined, we had one staff member, and then some days we'd have 4. And that was just kind of the norm at that time. So centralizing our kitchen would mean a lot of things. So it would mean that we would have other folks to rely on all in one kitchen. We could standardize all of our recipes so that at every school across the board, they would be seeing the same enchilada or the same lasagna, being able to standardize your recipes and have the same cooks cooking it for everyone. Economics. So we would purchase food, paper, and everything at one kitchen, and we'd be able to control it that way rather than having to purchase everything for the lasagna at 5 different schools. So we bring it all to one centralized location. So the challenges that we faced in the beginning were the kitchens, the size of the kitchen. So each kitchen that we had was designed to cook for 600 students approximately at one school. Now we're doing 2,000 meals or cooking for potentially 2,000 students twice a day. So space was something that we had to work through. Equipment. So limited equipment for bulk cooking. So you can use one pot to cook spaghetti for 200 students, but if you're cooking for 2,000 students, you're going to need to do that quite a few times. Transport of food. So transporting our food, how we would get things from point A to point B. And our walk-in cooler. So when you start cooking scratch cook meals and you want to prepare that lovely marinara, you're going to need a lot of cases of tomatoes and a lot of cases of onions and a lot of cases of carrots. But where will you store that, right? So when you bring in canned marinara, it takes a much smaller footprint, right? So walk-in capacity was something that was a challenge for us in the beginning. Staffing, so location, and training to learn how to do scratch cooking, right? And increased staffing to prepare all the fresh things that we want to prepare. So solutions. So we looked at the kitchen layout, looked at the layout and how we can maximize our space for efficiency, moving some things around, replacing some things that we had there, pulling stuff out. We did a whole revamp of the space that we had at the high school. We purchased a food truck to transport all of the items. We purchased a tilt skillet. So a tilt skillet is basically a pot that's half the size of this desk here. So you can make all your soup at one time, all your pasta at one time, and just brought in a couple pieces of equipment that we needed. Food transport carts, so that once we had those 25 trays of lasagna, we can pile them all into transport carts and write the school name that it's going to, and everyone's getting the same consistent lasagna. Walk-in cooler, that is on our list to be installed, and I'm working with facilities to get that in. But that's the one item that's still on our list. Staffing, we've hired cooks, and professional training that has taken place as well. So we found solutions to our challenges. This is me working with and trying to bring in fresh local produce to put onto our menus and looking at seasonal items that are available to us. This is our 2-year action plan. Our action plan is to hire a couple more culinary support staff to work with local farmers in collaboration with our scratch cooked menus. Install our walk-in cooler that is on schedule hopefully for this summer. To open a bakery to cook fresh, to utilize one of our school kitchens to bake fresh made items. So we are going to utilize less processed foods using more whole grains and less sugar added baked items. So those are, when you're thinking about breakfast breads, muffins, pumpkin loaves, things like that, for morning, for breakfast is usually when we use a lot of baked items. A food safety training and culinary training, a revamp of the Canalino kitchen. That is one of our most utilized kitchens. At Canalino, we have a high participation rate at Canalino. They do a lot of activities, and I'd like to do a lot more cooking demos and things like that in that kitchen. So I'd like to look at the floor plan with facilities and revamp that kitchen. Food safety training in June of 2025, and an herb garden. I would like to work with a couple folks that have a green thumb, a little bit more than I do, that are on the team, and they're very excited to start an herb garden at the high school and start growing some of our smaller produce and herbs and things like that. I think we have the space for it, and I'd like to work with the agricultural program to do that. So that would be nice. Grant funding. Over the past year, we've received some grant funding and applied for some funding for some of the items that I am presenting here for you. And those are the walk-in cooler, the culinary training, scratch cooking, are all grant funded. So we have received $500,000 in KIT grant, $95,000 in school food best practice grants, supply chain assistance grant of $190,000, and our most recent grant of the Healthy Meals Incentives Grant of $146,000. That is all available to us, and it is, they all have, all the grants have specific areas for the funding. All the expenses must be utilized for Fund 13, and I believe by the end of 2025. It is specifically for equipment, for training, for staffing, testing recipes, and for food supply chain shortages. So all of the items there are grant funded. This is a photo here of our culinary training that we just got back. We went over break in November, the Thanksgiving break. We had 9 participants attend, and it was a great training. We got to do a lot of knife skills, learn a lot of different cooking techniques, healthy cooking techniques, from poaching to grilling, roasting, knife cuts. So when you think about knife cuts and why you would want to learn different techniques in knife cuts is because sometimes you're working with the same vegetable, depending on the season, quite often, and you want to be able to prepare that in a different way. So if you think about carrots, right, you kind of want to have your carrots on the salad bar at least twice a week. They're a fan favorite, right? But if you cut them all the same in round rings, it kind of gets boring, a little bit stale, right? So if you julienne them and cut them in matchsticks, or you cut them on the bias and they look, kind of slanted, and it becomes something new, especially to kids. So it's like, oh wow, fun, that's something different, but it's really the same carrot, right? Still healthy, still tastes good, still all the same things, but it looks different, it presents different. So we did a lot of different knife cuts. Same thing with chicken. You have a few different proteins to work with, but the way you prepare it, whether you grill it or you marinate it or you poach it or you roast it, it becomes something new. The same thing with flavor profiles. How do we season food, and how do we get the maximum flavor without using all the sodium and all the salt and all the fat, right? Well, why don't we marinate it in an acid, in some lemon and some rosemary and some other things like that, and it brightens up, and all of a sudden it's not that boring chicken anymore, right? So these are the things that we were able to teach the team and work through and things like that. So everyone had a really great time. I appreciate that. These are some more photos of the training, picking some herbs for the dishes that we were going to make. And that's Ronnie. He made a curry soup. We made some grilled vegetable sandwiches, different soups, different salads. Again, healthy cooking. And I wanted to share a little bit of our participation rates for the from 2018 to where we stand now, just to give you guys an idea of, are the kids coming? Do they like our food? Are they joining us to eat? So if you look at 2018, around then, we had a participation rate of 45%. In 2019, about 36%. During the pandemic, it was very skewed and very hard to get accurate numbers because we didn't have an accurate participation, but what we have down is 30%. If you look at when we come out of the pandemic, and we're talking 2022, 23, we are at, 2021, 22, it's at 59%. 22, 23, 51, and what we have on calendar thus far for this year is 53%. So if you look at before the pandemic at a 45% and a 36, and now at a 51, 53, I want to say we're slowly moving in the right direction. We do have a ways to go, but I think we're moving in the right direction. And when we talk about financials, we are I'm looking at using the general fund. We have not used the general fund since 2000 and the closing year of 2020. So I think we have some reserves as well, which is nice. And I thought I would share that with you because I know that that's a concern for some, but we also have grant funding. So that is aside from not using the general fund. Something that I really believe in is, and that is my ending slide here, and that is within CUSD Food Services, we empower staff to foster a collaborative thinking, and to celebrate individual differences that each team member brings to the table. By empowering our employees and bringing their experiences, their passions, and their talents to the table, you can naturally expect to further drive culinary creativity and innovation. So that's kind of where I am. This is my heart. I have been in food service my entire life. I went to the Culinary Institute of America, where I took my staff for their training, and was very happy to share that with them. I went to school in New York for 5 years, but this campus was a lot closer. So they had a great time. They really did. And thank you. If you have any questions, let me know.
Thank you very much. Any comments or questions from the board, please?
I wanted to know if you were able to use any of the equipment in the culinary kitchen.
I would love to.
Some pretty nice things in there.
Yeah, there are. I might poke around, and maybe some of the ovens and brands we might be able to purchase with the grant money. Yeah, they're very nice, very fancy. Yeah.
So the participation number, that's when a child chooses to, or a student chooses to
Yes, sir.
pick a lunch or bring a sack lunch for the day.
Yes.
Is that how it works? Okay.
Yeah.
It'd be great to see your kitchen on the next school tours.
Sure.
the spring. If you'd be
Yeah.
willing to have us.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Love to see it.
Yeah. Come hungry.
Yeah. All right.
Yes. Yeah.
Well, thanks, Michelle. We can tell that you're very passionate
Mhm.
about this, and I appreciate you sharing the budget numbers.
Yes.
There's no longer an encroachment into the general fund, which was we were encroaching quite a bit over before your tenure here. So thank you for sharing that, and it's exciting to see all the plans that you have, and hopefully you'll be able to collaborate with the ag department and we can get a garden going back out. There was a garden actually there when I first came on the board. There was a grant from the Orfila Foundation,
Mhm.
and they funded actually a gardener at the school farm, and they got certified organic.
I saw that.
Yeah, and it was
Yeah.
a good operation.
Mhm.
And unfortunately, it kind of the money ran out, and we had budget problems at the time, and it didn't. But I think there's some will there now in the ag department. They would like to start using that space more productively. So I think it'd be good to kind of collaborate and hopefully put in some sort of a little herb garden there.
I saw that video when I was interviewing for the position
Mhm.
and was extremely excited about the garden and being able to use that produce and all that kind of stuff in the food service program for the kids. So when I arrived, well, it was COVID, and I wasn't surprised that it was no longer there. But I would love to get that going and research some grant money to be able to support that to have it go long term.
That'd be fantastic. Yeah. I mean, because neither one of the teachers has a real strong background in row crops, but they both have a pretty strong will to work with their kids and do it. So I think there would definitely be some interest there.
Okay, I'll reach out.
Yeah, so that'd be great if you could
That's
find some grant money.
That's on the agenda, and I was speaking with someone about a grant for just that, and I have been talking a little bit to Arna Crittenton. She's on my team, and she is very excited to be a part of that. And she's got a green thumb, and yeah, would yeah. So I'm excited. Yeah.
Great.
Wow.
Thank you.
Well, thank you.
Thank you.
So
Michelle.
sorry, I have a couple. Sorry, I just got a couple things. So thank you so much. And I remember meeting you in this very weird way in 2020 with COVID, and you were just coming on, and you jumped right in, making sure you figured out ways to get food to our families. Food insecurity was something that I was working on with the food bank and the food pantry. And I mean, it was just so awesome. You and staff, and whether we were at the high school campus or over at CCP, and getting extra food to families that needed it, getting that back to the kitchen. And you've definitely done a huge amount of work over the last few years of being in the community with the food. And so thank you for that, for sure. I'm just going to go through a couple things. Okay. So food safety training in 2025, is that separate from Serve Safe? Like, I'm assuming everybody has their Serve Safe, correct?
Everyone does have their Serve
Okay.
Safe. Yes.
I just want to clarify for
Yes.
folks. Serve Safe exit. We have it. What is this? Is this additional or beyond? What is this training you're talking about?
So I'm working to put together another training which will incorporate not only culinary training. So when we arrived at the culinary training in Napa, the instructor was like, wow, Michelle, you guys are already doing scratch cooking. You guys need to be doing the elevated advanced class that has A, B, C, and D. And I said, oh, wow, that would be amazing. And they said that we can put together a food safety, like a kitchen safety, pretty much. So working in a kitchen has a lot of naturally environmental hazards, right? With burns and cuts, slips, trips, and falls, all that kind of stuff. So kitchen safety training, right? Then a refresh on the Serve Safe food handlers training, right? And then a culinary training. So kind of an all encompassing training. So once they saw our skill set, and what we can do and what we need, what they needed, they wanted to put that together, and I think it would be fantastic to be able to do that. So refresh on food safety, and food safety is always great to have. I know that you take the hour course or the 2-hour test, and you're certified for 5 years, right? But in 1 to 2 years, especially when we're working with kids, I mean, it's raw food, it's cross contamination, it's a bunch of different things, right? That to me, it's frightening sometimes, right? It's because of the population. So when you're serving either the elderly or very young children, your food safety and your eye on that stuff has to be, spot on every time, every day, because those things can really, hurt someone. So I want to just make sure that we're refreshing, we're retraining, that all those things are everyone knows it like the back of their hand. So that's why
That's
I feel
wonderful. I was sure there was something more to it. I'm like, I know
Yes,
they're doing
yes,
Serve Safe.
yeah.
So what are we getting at there? So
yes.
I'm really excited to hear it's culinary school boot camp.
Yeah,
You're just
that's
it's
exactly
all
what it
the
is.
little things that I went through, that you went through, that come together right there. So thank you for that, because I love that reflects to our food services staff an investment in them and their growth as well, because saying, hey, like, we see you,
Yeah,
we see that
totally.
you are in this, and we're giving you the room to grow. So that's great. How do you guys deal with picky eaters? Because I was looking at these pictures, and beautiful, and I would love some of that. 2 out of 3 of my kids
Yeah.
would love some of that, but number 3, he's a little different. He is my nugget and hot dog kid,
Yeah,
and
yeah.
the other 2, were eating beautiful salads at
Yeah,
4.
yeah.
So what do we do?
So we haven't gotten rid of all of the fan favorites, we still have Burger Day, we still have Sloppy Joe Day once a year. No, but we have Pizza Day every Friday. So, we also don't want to take away. I tried that. I did. I mistakenly tried that. And I got the student council meets, and the kids are very vocal, and they want their Pizza Day, and they want their Burger Day, and their mac and cheese. So what we do is we hide the roasted butternut squash in the mac and cheese. We hide extra vegetables and squash and broccolis and in the marinara, so that they're all getting their, all their veggies and in their favorite meals that they don't really know are snuck in there. So we do keep the fan favorites, the chicken nuggets and things that I'll just close my eyes, and they've got to be on the menu. But yes, so we haven't taken all that away, but we've tried to go with healthier choices. So even though it's mac and cheese, we're sliding veggies in there. We're not using so much fat, things like that, and it's all scratch made and homemade. So we know that all the products are quality products that are going into all the meals. So we also have folks that have different allergies, nut allergies and dairy allergies and things like that. And we work with the office coordinators and the principals, and all the leads at the different schools, and we kind of know what students, and we have a list at every school of what students have special dietary needs, things like that, and we provide them a different meal and food options that they can eat. Sometimes we work directly with the parents on that, and sometimes it's with the site coordinator. We also have a salad bar. Again, today we had a tuna salad. Yesterday we had grilled chicken. So we'll have different items on the salad bar so that they do get a full protein. They get different veggie options and things like that. So yeah,
Wonderful.
we try to switch it up for everyone.
Thank you. And then, so 2018, with going to the participation rates, jumping around on you a little bit,
Okay.
just trying to go through in the order you said it, though, at least. So 2018 to now, great improvement on participation, but also there's the difference of free school food for all. Whereas before some was paid, I think back then still, correct? In 18, yeah. So some was paid, Some was reduced, some was free. Now it's, hey, you want it, come and get it.
Yes.
And so I'm glad to see that kids are doing just that. They are getting the food, whatever barrier may have been there has been removed, and they are all in on it, which brings me to the next, which is your comment about doing everything out of the general fund, or not using the general fund monies for all this stuff, and the difference, the cost difference, because it is free for all now. You're having higher participation, and are you? I know that what federally gets funded is not nearly what it should be to feed our kids, or through the state, really. And so, oh, where do you see this going? Do you see the scratch cooking is actually more? I mean, not that I would ever advocate for getting away from it, but understanding the difference between the box cutter versus the spatula, and how can we ensure that we don't go back? Because once upon a time when Orflo was here, we had Jamie Oliver come. It was this great thing. They threw away the box cutters. There was no more pre-done foods. And then slowly it kind of crept back in because of budget. And so I want to, and Andy said, sustainability of the program that you're building. You're putting in a lot of time and a lot of effort, and so is our staff. And it's something that I know we as parents want for our kids. So, and maybe we can have a discussion another time, because I know
That's okay.
you've already been
That's
doing
okay.
this for a long time
No, it's
tonight.
okay.
Thank you.
It's-
But I just want to ensure that we can sustainably continue this and going forward, because we need to be able to.
Yeah. I'm glad you asked that question. So, it is creating the menus is fun for me because it's a challenge. It's utilizing the funds that we have as well as the commodity funds that we have. So we get a pocket of money to use to purchase government food. Then we have the monies that are from the reimbursements from the school meals, right? So if we get $500, let's just say we get $500 from students eating meals reimbursed from the government. So that's $500 here. Then we have $500 in commodities funds. So commodities or government foods, they send a list of about 200 items per year that we might be able to purchase food from. And so you have mystery meats, you have different cheeses, you have canned goods, and then you have whole wheat pastas, you have different items like that. So it's all about, and then they also have fresh produce, right? So it's all about utilizing your cash and your commodities money and looking at those lists and saying, okay, I don't really want to serve mystery meat, right? So I'm going to use my real dollars and try to buy the best quality meats and things like that I can get. And then I'm going to use my commodity dollars for things that it probably doesn't really matter where I get canned applesauce, or a tomato paste so much, or a whole wheat pasta. We're not the quality and things like that. It's not. So you kind of have to balance by utilizing these funds, even though there are some items that you definitely don't want to purchase. And then there are some items that, hey, you've tested it, you've looked at the ingredients that are in it, things like that, that are great to bring in. And so the funds that you have from the government, I try to use wisely. Yes. So it's helped a whole lot to make the menus cost effective and to balance things out while bringing a a good quality product in. The same thing with the produce that we bring in. So I purchase some produce items that I want to buy local and that I want to have that I know are grown. You know, in Ojai, we're bringing in pixie tangerines and different citrus and things like that, and quality in items. And from Babe Farms in Santa Maria, we have some specialty items coming from there. And you kind of pick around local what you want to bring in and what we're growing around here. And then there are things like onions that I can purchase with my commodities dollars, and not have to use the funds here, and purchasing, you know, maybe some carrots and maybe some onions and some standard products that really aren't going to, because you need to use these funds in order to have a sustainable program. And I'm not sure about the picks and different things that were happening before. All I can tell you is how I make my choices, and it seems to be balancing pretty well without sacrificing quality and bringing in good products for our students.
Well, thank you.
Yeah.
And like Eric said, I really hope we can jump in, hopefully not too obtrusively,
No,
and check
absolutely.
out the kitchen and see you guys at work in there
Great.
next time we tour. So
Yes, please.
thank you so much.
Thank you, Michelle.
Thank you.
I
Thank
think
you
what
all.
she just explained was why we're so fortunate to have a chef
Yeah,
in charge
Yes.
of our food program. This is the
Absolutely.
first time in these past years that we've had an experienced true chef that builds collaboration in her kitchen with a focus on providing the highest quality food for our students that are locally sourced. So for that, we're so appreciative, and secured all that funding
Yeah,
and
wow,
grants.
that's
This is
insane.
the first time
Amazing.
for us. So
Yeah.
we are very, very fortunate.
I also have a extensive background in inventory control and things like that. So
Clearly.
Yeah.
yeah. So
Clearly you
I
do.
did a few years organizing the inventory for Amgen in Thousand Oaks. And, you know, if you think about feeding thousands and thousands and thousands of folks and managing, you know, so when you bring all that, you know, inventory control and centralizing your kitchen and making sure that all of your stuff is in one location, and you are, you know, all your dollars are spent a lot more wisely when you have a lot more control of your inventories and things like that. So it all ties together. And yeah, so it'll be good. I'm very excited about the things to come. And I thank you for your time. Again, thanks for having me.
Thank you so
Thank you,
much. I
Michelle.
appreciate it.
Wonderful.
And if we have any public comment on this presentation, please feel free to step up to the podium now. She did turn it off, so please make sure you turn it on green light.
Union leadership wanted to provide a quick expression of gratitude for Ms. Hernandez and the food service staff she supervises. Together, they share the important responsibility of ensuring that our students, and in some cases, their entire families, are well fed, both when the district is open and even on days when the district campuses are closed. Beyond just being passionate, Ms. Hernandez has demonstrated a genuine talent for this work. And over the last few years, the critical value of food resources and the impact they have on student learning, community, and behavior are much better understood and accounted for. Those who churn out the meals and the snacks, deliver the goods across the district, and clean up the mess associated with it all should carry their heads high. They are making a quiet and too often unrecognized difference in the lives of so many district students and families. We asked the school board, the union asked the school board, to remember this presentation, to remember Ms. Hernandez, and to remember the classified support staff when union leadership presents the variety of proposals related to their compensation and benefits, equitable compensation values upon hiring, longevity and retirement options so that they can make careers with the district instead of part-time work, leave provisions, shared decision-making so they feel valued and invested in the business of food service, and healthcare, and certainly matters of work site and school site safety. For Ms. Hernandez to run the quality program she is capable of running, it is important that she has provided a workforce that is economically stable, healthy, engaged in professional matters, and provided a safe environment to do so. So thank you, school board members, for your positive recognition of the program Ms. Hernandez supervises. Please make sure that you keep in mind those who provide service in food service and supporting documents as our bargaining conversations ensue. Thank you.
Any further public comments? Okay, not seeing any. We're now going to move on to public comment on items not on this agenda. So if you would like to comment on something that is not on tonight's agenda, please feel free to step up. Yep.
So I'd just like to respectfully disagree with Ms. Rigby. In the 8 years that my child was in this district, the only reason that I pulled her out of this district because there were safety issues and bullying and a direct attack on some of her personal property at the middle school. Mr. Hotchner was her teacher. I support him in that. I worked in his classroom when I worked for this district. I'm number 236. I had no problem. I saw a teacher in charge of a classroom. I saw students that were not well disciplined by their parents, and a teacher, as I've seen many teachers that I've worked with in this district, discipline students. So I have no fear or threat or qualm. If I were to have 10 more children, they would be in Mr. Hotchner's classroom. I do feel that there have been personal attacks on this man because he tells the truth and he brings out all the dirty laundry, and people don't like that. And it may be uncomfortable, and I understand that. Just like the morning I saw you at the airport and you blanked me and walked away. I am a person, and I worked for this district in good conscience. I did a good job for this district, and I don't feel what happened to me was fair either. But I just want to put that out there because I feel Mr. Hotchner is a valid part of this district and a good teacher, as are all the teachers in this district and support staff. And it's really saddens me that we get treated the way we do for doing our jobs and the integrity that we carry. Thank you.
Thank you.
I'm sorry, I didn't catch your name.
Cynthia Crudson. Sorry. Yeah, Cynthia Crudson. Any further public comment on items not on the agenda?
Yes, ma'am. So this comment involves special education at the middle school. Where exactly do we begin? At both November board meetings, there were special requests for the district to place the special education crisis at CMS on the agenda. District leadership is yet to clarify why 8 highly qualified special education teachers have left CMS specifically under Principal O'Shea and Superintendent Rigby's supervision in the last 2.5 instructional years. And by the way, that number, as union leadership notified you would happen, is now 9 employees. 9 highly qualified special education teachers have left CMS under Principal O'Shea and Superintendent Rigby's supervision in the last 2.5 instructional years. Since November, the district's assurance that the special education program teacher on a leave of absence would return has not transpired, and her classes remain collapsed impulsively into the remaining SPED classes. The district's false confidence that the second new SPED teacher would remain was also incorrect. She resigned by winter break, along with several talented special education instructional aides. The district's promises to CMS special education families that it would bring in a new full-time special education teacher at the start of the new year has not transpired either. These errors in vision and resourcing are now requiring the current special education faculty at CMS to pick up even more IEPs, more exhaustive legal paperwork, more lesson plans, more behavioral accommodations and strategies, all while physically supervising more students. All this after having already shared that they were inundated with issues of workload and staffing shortages that actually exacerbated the very resignations that have made it now even worse. All under the strategic hand of Superintendent Rigby, who owns the honor of being the first school official nationwide to be held personally liable for monetary damages under the Civil Rights Act for violating families' rights to get, quote, a free, appropriate public education for their special education needs of their child. None of the current condition at CMS should come as a surprise. This mess was predictable. As they have now, the courts warned us then when we hired Ms. Rigby, Mr. Schaefer, To those of us who have spent a career in public education, we saw this coming. It didn't require tremendous intellectual gymnastics to recognize where Ms. Rigby's leadership would take us. But you were determined, weren't you, Mr. Schaefer? You had your arrangement, and now it is blowing up in your face. Unfortunately, it is also blowing up in the faces of district students and families. So once again, I remind the board that you are expected to, quote, direct resources where they are most needed and ensure accountability to the community.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Any further public comment for items not on the agenda, please? And be sure to state your name as well.
Good evening. I'm Sam. Some of you might recognize me. I was not planning to speak, but as somebody who's been directly affected by Mr. Hochner's role as a mentor, leader, and a very incredible teacher, I felt like I had to. I say this not to discredit anybody's story, but instead because my factually specific view of Mr. Hochner is as a human who has changed and saved my life in many aspects. He has taught me in monumental ways how to approach different situations with kindness, respect, and compassion. He's taught me through example how to show up in this world, not just as a good man, but also as an incredible leader and a human being. I grew up in this district, and I chose to leave after middle school because I saw the direction that the board was taking the district, and I didn't feel like the opportunities that the board was pursuing were congruent with what I believe and hold to be truth. There was little to no support in meeting my educational and social emotional learning needs through the leadership of the schools I attended in this district. I have never met anybody as passionate about the success of each of their students and colleagues as Mr. Hochner, and that's coming from someone who just finished their first semester at college. I carry and reference the lessons that he's taught me to this day, every day, 6 years after I was in his classroom. I appreciate, it is the highlighters. It really is. I appreciate the dedication, work, and care that it takes to make as big of a change as Mr. Hochner and I see that Michelle is doing. People like her give me hope in this district, but not because of the leadership. I have hope in this district because I see people who are still diligently working to make sure that your students and faculty are taken care of. Many times, and I've seen this personally, they do this with little to no support from leadership. The drive and passion that they have extends far beyond their role, and while they are making incredible change, that passion can only stretch so far without a commitment from leadership to systemic change and consistent support for faculty and staff. It's appalling to me the way that you treat Mr. Hostrom when he has never been anything but passionate about the well-being of each of his students and each one of your staff and faculty that he tirelessly leads and supports within the union. The disrespect and contempt you hold towards him is beyond comprehension from my perspective and only makes me feel more justified in my decision to leave this district. The focus has shifted from student and community development to support to what feels like a wildly overplayed political strategy that has no focus or direction. I hope that in the future, each of you recognize what a valuable asset that individuals just like him have to student development, both inside and outside of the classroom, because your faculty, staff, current and future students, and community at large deserve it. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, moving on, business operations and facilities. Warrants, the board is asked to approve the warrants for the period of 12/12/23 through 1/4/24 in the amount of $792,527.88. Warrants are issued once a week on Thursdays. The report format shows check number, check date, payee, brief account description, payment, comment, and check amount. Do we have any questions from the board on the warrants? Okay. Public comment on warrants.
Regarding warrants, the union was glad that on this warrant, there was only an additional $18,462 added to the approximately $2.5 million in taxpayer money procured by the law firm Fagan, Friedman, Fullfrost, LLP, who made a fortune off the illegal actions pursued by select district leadership. With that in mind, we again remind the board and community to please pay closer attention to future payments to Fagan, Friedman, Fullfrost, LLP contained in these warrants. The millions going to Fagan, Friedman, and Full Frost LLP have been coming directly out of the general fund. The volume of legal costs amounts to a 7-fold annual increase in such expenses when compared to the years prior to the superintendent's arrival. And after the district pays its recently acquired new legal debt associated with the decision by the commission on professional competence, that number will climb to approximately 10 to 12-fold increase in the similar legal expenses when compared to years prior to Superintendent Rigby's arrival. We didn't know last December 2023 when Ms. Rigby and board members Schaefer and Diamond and Green shared their terribly unfounded, salacious, and unevidenced allegations with the community at this very meetings. But now we do know that the district earned what the district earned with these millions of dollars. Now we know that CUSD earned something similar to the last time the district leaders spent public taxpayers' money while casually approving the expenses and attacks on union leadership. This time, it simply reverses the district's effort on the harm and illegal actions, while the same law firm must be laughing all the way to the bank. As it deposits millions of dollars in payments from the district, the same law firm that advised and counseled the district's illegal actions for the past several years of professional dysfunction that our students, employees, community members, and their families have paid for and are continuing to pay for, and clearly will be continuing to pay for. So again, union leadership discourages you from allowing the superintendent and her very well-paid lawyers from talking the board into filing an appeal, which would likely bring the total amount spent over $4 million of taxpayers' money coming directly out of investments that should be made in student programs, opportunities, and resources directed at students and their families. We remind you, if the district seeks an appeal, it would be appealing the court's decision, a unanimous decision, a decision made after 20 days of hearings and without any dissent from those on the commission. Again, a commission of 3 that included a panelist hand-selected by the district reached this unanimous decision. It is, thank you.
Thank you. Any further comment on warrants? Okay, seeing none, may I get a motion to approve?
I'll move to approve.
I'll second.
Any discussion? No. Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Okay, moving on to gifts, grants, and donations. We have a donation from Linda Lang to CHS FFA. The board is asked to accept the donation from Linda Lang of $50 to CHS FFA to be used for anything they need. Any questions from the board? No? Okay, public comment on 2A? Seeing none, may I get a motion to approve?
I'll move to approve with gratitude. Thank you, Linda.
Yes, I second that, and thank you, Linda.
Yeah, okay, all in favor?
Aye.
We have donation from JW Photography to Summerlin School for $75. Any questions from the board? None? Okay, public comment on 2B, donation from JW Photography to Summerland. Seeing none, may I get a motion to approve?
I'll move to approve with gratitude.
I'll second.
Okay, any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
To C, donation from CHS Athletics Boosters Club to CHS ASB Student Aid. The board is asked to accept the donation from CHS Athletics Boosters Club of $20,000 to CHS ASB Student Aid. Any questions from the board? I'm going to ask just Ms. Rigby, if you would mind explaining what that is, what that funding goes to, because I wasn't aware of that when this first came across. And so I think it'd be great for everybody to understand what that does.
Sure. So every year we have a student aid account through ASB at the high school to support those students who need extra funding for fees for participating in school activities. So for example, they might need funds to go to the prom. They might need funds to participate on a trip. They might need funds to engage in an extracurricular activity that is not charging for the activity, but needed something additional to be part of that activity. And they can request those funds, and we're so thankful for the generosity of the boosters. And they provide this every year, by the way.
Thank you for putting it out there, what this actually does. Thank you. Public comment on 2C? Seeing none, may I get a motion to approve?
I move to approve with gratitude to the Boosters Club.
I'll second.
Any discussion? No, just huge gratitude. This is what supporting our students is. It's making sure that everybody has the opportunity to participate in the same way as everybody else. So thank you. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. 2D, donation from CHS Athletic Boosters Club to CHS General Athletic Fund. The board is asked to accept the donation from CHS Athletics Boosters Club of $20,000 to CHS General Athletic Fund. Any questions from the board? Okay, public comment on 2D? Okay, seeing none, may I get a motion to approve?
I'll move to approve.
Second.
Okay, any discussion? Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
And then 2E, anonymous donation to CHS Athletic Department. The board is asked to accept the anonymous donation of $650 to CHS Athletic Department for 2 Letterman jackets. Any questions from the board? No. Public comment on 2E.
Just a quick up and down here. I want to thank those community members who provide gifts and grants to the CUSD without any unethical or unprofessional strings attached. Union leadership is committed to seeing that the value of their donations, this time over approximately $40,000, $41,000, goes as far as possible to directly serve our students. So thank you to the community.
Okay, can I get a motion to approve 2E?
I'll make a motion to approve.
I'll second.
Any discussion from the board? Yeah, just thank you to the anonymous donor. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Okay, moving on to personnel summary. The board is asked to approve the following recommended personnel items. We have 3 resignations and 1 retirement. Any questions from the board? Okay, public comment on G1 personnel summary.
So once again, mid-year resignations and retirements without any new hires to backfill openings. Regarding the resignations, union leadership continues to draw the board's attention to the district's hiring practice, which is at the center of CUSD's challenges to hire and maintain instructional aides. Until the district does something more concrete and equitable about its practice of hiring new employees at higher hourly wages than employees who have provided consistent high-quality service to the district and its students for 5, 10, 15, or 20 years or more, it is unlikely that the district will stem the significant instructional aid deficit we are experiencing. We appreciate and look forward to the opportunity of working on this in the bargaining environment, and we truly appreciate that some of you are going to become directly involved in that process. Finally, union leadership wishes to express our admiration and well wishes to Cruzita Gonzalez, whose retirement is made official this evening. Cruz served the CUSD for many, many years, and in her last position as office coordinator at the middle school, she absolutely, most definitely had her work cut out for her. She performed her duties with extraordinary competence and positivity, and that had a direct impact on the people she worked with, the teachers, the support staff, the administrators, students, and the community. And for such a small feat, Cruzita's absence really is going to result in some very, very big shoes to fill. So thank you and congratulations to Cruz.
Thank you. Any further public comments on our personnel summary? Okay, not seeing any. May I get a motion to approve?
I move to approve.
Second.
Okay. Any discussion? Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Board announcements. Anybody got Anything going on?
Mm,
Nothing coming up?
nothing significant.
Okay. I felt like I had something, but now I can't remember what it was. Okay, well, welcome back to school, everybody, and I hope everybody enjoyed their break. And I am just, yeah, I'm excited for this spring semester. This year seems to be just rolling through really fast. So, okay, board calendar, Monica. Anything in particular we need to be aware of coming up?
Just the special board meeting on January 18.
Okay, thank you. And future agenda items, developer fee report, and our budget development is coming up. Any questions on that? No? Okay. Oh, my time is up. Sounds good. No, I'm okay with that. All right. Public comment on future agenda items.
Alrighty, any of these would be valuable additions to future agendas from the perspective of district employees and support staff, faculty and support staff. Each would provide an opportunity for actionable improvement across the district. The concept of remuneration or transparent compensation for school board members with the intention of increasing board member engagement, performance, and economic diversity. The request for the board for a board resolution to notify and educate students and families about the 4 rules for kids who find themselves in the proximity of a firearm without parental supervision. As established by the Office of the Attorney General, California Department of Justice, the 4 rules are and remain, as they have for months now that we've been encouraging this. 1, stop. 2, don't touch. 3, leave the area. And 4, tell an adult. The request for transparent conversation regarding the impact of the decision to prohibit board members from directly participating in contract negotiations is fortunately and gratefully no longer something we ask you to put in front of the board. Again, union leadership is very happy that we will see more robust participation in bargaining moving forward. More robust participation, I should say, on behalf of the district. We encourage a full examination of the union's proposal to provide district-wide first aid and CPR training to all district employees to ensure that those working directly with students are trained to the level they are most capable. This would be a win-win, we see, for everyone involved. We can get this at a good price. It serves the district. It serves the community at large. We are baffled by why you have refused to entertain this topic with us. And then, of course, there's, the $84,000 for a robotics class that isn't occurring. And there is well, we know why there's a increase from over $500,000 of over $500,000 from the $524 school safety committees. And it really doesn't appear to have much to do with school safety committees, does it? Okay, that's it. Thank you very much.
Okay. And with that, we are adjourned.